What if someone told you that the bombing of Pearl Harbor created what we now know as modern anime? You'd probably think they were crazy, or that they were just spouting some conspiracy theory that you never would have believed in your life. But what if I told you, in a way, it was true? Anime as a term is very broad. It covers the propaganda from the 1930s during wartime, to sports anime like Haikyuu, which are volleyball animes, to a gorgeous film like Your Name, which became the highest grossing animated film. It's a global phenomenon, especially in the United States, despite its language barrier. To explain how it became this popular, first we'll have to answer that question I answered at the beginning, which sounds very crazy, I know. And then we'll have to discuss the golden age of anime in the 80s that led to its popularity even today. And we'll discuss how that popularity made Japan a main source of inspiration for artists and studios everywhere. All to explain how anime is a large aspect of our modern culture, from its history to how it is today. After the U.S. defeated Japan in World War II, they occupied them. They reconstructed their government to be much more like ours. And during this reconstruction, there was a massive cultural exchange between the Americans and the Japanese. They had brought over Walt Disney films and comic books that they had never been exposed to before. A study in transnational cinema, which aims to explore the phenomenon of anime, notes that the films of Disney had to form a large influence on several animators, especially those of Studio Ghibli. And for those who don't know, Studio Ghibli made movies like My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, and Castle in the Sky. These Disney films had to change the manga, which anime takes inspiration from. Manga, as it was known before the Walt Disney films, were mainly seen on scrolls, which were read right to left, which is why manga is still read right to left. And they were also just seen as political cartoons, like we see now. But after these Disney films were introduced, manga changed indefinitely and completely changed the anime as well. So, in a way, the Pearl Harbor bombing caused this cultural exchange between Americans and the Japanese to create what is now modern anime, which is really weird if you think about it. Now we'll have to focus on how it became and stayed so popular. In the 1980s, there was a golden age of anime in Japan. Japan had a bubble economy at the time which burst and completely stagnated its economy. Because of this stagnation, many studios and mangakas, which create the mangas, started creating high-budget and very experimental films like Akira. Akira was a huge hit in Asia, Europe, and the United States. The study in transnational cinema attributes the success to the mangaka, Katsuhiro Otomo's decision to set Akira in what is known in the film as Neo-Tokyo. This allows people from both the East and the West to look at characters as somewhat stateless, allowing the story to transcend many different cultures and nations upon its worldwide distribution. After these experimental films, many episodic series try to be experimental as well, creating completely new genres. A very good example of this is the Gundam series, which created the mecha genre, or the real robot genre if you translate it directly. And as well as classic animes that many anime watchers either know of or have watched themselves, called one being Neon Genesis Evangelion. To this day, anime still has an influence on modern culture because non-anime watchers also recognize the titles of some animes. For example, you might have heard of Dragon Ball Z, or Naruto, or Attack on Titan, or Sailor Moon. And I'm sure you've heard of Attack on Titan, because as Analytics, a global content demand and analytics company, found that in the US for the week of January 31st to February 6th, Attack on Titan was the most in-demand show in the United States. It had 110.5 times the demand of the average series in the United States. So of course, that makes it popular in some way, right? Now we know that anime originated from Disney films in a way, and of course they drew very much inspiration from them. But now, modern Japan has become a huge inspiration for many artists in both the economic sense and the artistic sense. Statistica, a global business data platform that collects insights and facts from over 170 industries, found that Japan made 1.31 trillion yen, or 11.95 billion US dollars, in just domestic revenue in anime. And in 2018, the Japanese Internal Affairs Ministry noted that Anime comprised 80% of broadcast exports, which amounted to 51.94 billion yen, or 474 million US dollars. But it's not just the money that inspires these artists, but the unique art style and story that comes from anime. For example, Avatar: The Last Airbender, a show many of you might have heard of, drew inspiration from anime as well. And there are even shows that are American-made or foreign-made in general that can be considered animes because of how much they draw from the anime genre. For example, Ruby, a Rooster Teeth original that is from an American company, has fans contesting between whether or not it should be called an anime because of how much inspiration it draws from anime, despite being an American-made show. So now we've learned that anime is a global phenomenon. And the path it took to get here was very weird. And very weird to say out loud. Just say it to yourself. Pearl Harbor became the reason why anime was so successful. It's just weird to say on the tongue. Anime had a huge golden age in the 80s that made its popularity burst. And that's why we know it today. And because of that burst in popularity, now Japan is a main source of inspiration of a lot of artists around the world. And in many studios still, rivaling Disney and other film studios. It's a weird path to go on, but they made it here. It's become a staple in modern world culture, especially America, because it's on clothing, for example, this shirt right here, ads, mainstream media, and social media. So despite this weird path, anime has stuck around, and I'm grateful for that, or else I'd be very bored a lot of the time. Thank you for listening.